This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Bulls fans, you know we just don't talk ball, we live it. And now we're throwing you a full court lob with $15 tickets to select March games. Don't just hear us break it down, be there, feel the energy, lose your voice, howl with us. Use code KFAN at Timberwolves.com/March to get your $15 tickets. Use code KFAN!
Oh, really? Breaking news as it happens?
It has officially official.
Oh.
The Gophers have officially put out the release. Nico Medved is your new Golden Gophers men's basketball coach. Officially official as of a minute ago.
Are there any quotes from Nico in it? Because if not, I can give them to you.
You can go ahead. I'll look.
Really honored. It's been a lifelong dream to return to my alma mater, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I've always had a soft spot in my heart for them, having been from Minnesota. It would always have been a dream of mine to be here. I enjoyed my stay at Colorado State University. Want to thank everybody at Colorado State for a terrific few years, particularly to the athletic director, the boosters, the fans, and all of my players. It's hard for me to leave here. It really is. But it's been a dream of mine to go to the University of Minnesota. I look forward to returning the Golden Gophers to the glory years.
Do you want the real quote?
Yeah.
I want to thank President Rebecca Cunningham, Mark Coyle, and everyone involved in the search. This really is a dream job for me. I loved my time at Colorado State. I worked with tremendous people who made a lasting impact on my life. Those are memories I'll cherish forever. This job was too special to pass up. When the opportunity presented itself, I had to take it. I grew up a Gopher about 15 minutes away from the barn. I went to school here, was a student manager here, and coached here. This is a special place. It's home, and I can't wait to get started.
I guess I could have.
You pretty much
nailed it, though, right?
Yeah. You'd be his ghostwriter.
Yeah, I could do that. So, so here he is. He's in, and it is official. Nico Medved is your next. Does it say how many in that news release anywhere? How many head coaches there have been with the Minnesota? Usually they'll list that. He becomes the. 20,
yes.
Let me guess.
Yep.
21st. Minnesota Golden Gophers.
You're very close.
How many has it been?
19th.
19th head coach. Who will be the 20th? And how long do you think? How long will it take to get to number 20? Do you think? You know what? Nico's going to retire from here. They're going to build a new stadium and call it Medved Mall, and we're going to be all real happy. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4. Question number 1.
Time now for an in-depth look at the state of hockey.
Yeah, the Wild in Dallas tonight. They'll take on the very good Stars. And it just seemed like everyone was coming back from injury. Kaprizov's expected to skate at the end of the week. Brodin is back. And now the Wild put out a couple hours ago, Jonas Brodin, lower body, is day-to-day and will not play in tonight's game against Dallas. Is this a worse than average injury crisis, or do you think this is an every year the Wild just managed to get, bit by the injury bug?
I'll leave it to you. You're the Wild guy. So this is where I tend to be asked a Wild question. I defer to him because hockey's his favorite sport. Wild is like your favorite Minnesota-based team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You follow
probably my favorite team in sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then why don't
That's why I rip
you talk, I'll eat.
I go back and forth on this all the time because we get texts that's like, feels like the Wild just are injured every year and all the time. But then this year specifically, it does feel like more. I would argue that it feels more because they're so reliant on one or two players that when they're out, it feels like the team is totally hamstrung. But it really feels like they've got both hands tied behind their back right now. Even though they're on a little winning streak, which is good, I think 3 in a row, we're happy for you. We're going to have to see it against a really good team in Dallas tonight. That will not be fun to walk into. Your thoughts?
That's your answer? I barely had a chance to chew and swallow my first bite.
Of course, the Minnesota Wild are a team in the NHL. They play out
there
of
you go.
They play out of St. Paul.
I don't know. For me, the whole mystery is where they give you no information at all about what kind of injury it is, and they're very sketchy on how long they'll be out. Could be a week to the rest of his career. It's like, come on, man. I mean, but that's what they do. So I will say, for as beat up as they've been with key players out, your guy Kirill
Kaprizov,
Ek, Brodin, is Foligno? He went out, didn't he? Is he back? Didn't he get hurt?
I mean, he's been banged up too.
Yeah, but one of and who else is? We've had a number of injuries. We've had all sorts of them, and so I don't. Just to be able to hang in there and hang on to a playoff spot, I guess is fine. I go back to, and I know I lean on this crutch. It's actually more than a crutch. It's like a gurney and a wheelchair, a crutch, and a cane. We really weren't expecting much from this year anyways because the onerous Suter-Parise contracts. So to me, it's all just, and I know you're thinking, well, you're just giving them a convenient excuse. I guess it's a pretty good excuse if you're looking for convenient excuses when you ain't got a lot of money to spend. But apparently that, for the most part, disappears next year. And that's where you go, okay, what have you done for us lately? And so just that they're hanging in there, I guess, is okay. But I don't, even if we get healthy, would you expect a deep run? Probably not, or I don't know. You know better than I do. Not in the Central Division, I don't think. There you go. It's pretty slammed.
Question number 2.
The Valspar in Clearwater, Florida wrapped up yesterday, and your guy, farther and straighter guy, Victor Hovland, first win since 2023. It was him and Justin Thomas pretty much down the stretch of two decently big names for this tournament. I think Justin Thomas had like a 3-shot lead going down into the snake pit. And he let it go, and Victor Hovland capitalized. I thought it was interesting that Victor basically was wide open. Was like, I have no idea where. I think he said this, so granted, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, like, I've got no idea where the ball's going off the tee. No, he doesn't. He stays.
He doesn't know where it's going at all. He said he's been struggling with his swing, but he also did the old, he said, well, my swing seems like it's the same every week. Just sometimes it's just the ball's not going where I want it to, or something to that effect. Yeah. I watched the very end. I was watching basketball, and it just by hook or by crook, the game I was watching was a blowout. So I said, hey, that's right, golf's going on. So I kicked over and watched the last 3-4 holes, and it was right there for Thomas. It was his to be had, and then he blocked it right on, was it 16, and he hit the grandstand, and it went into the bunker, and he got up and down for bogey. He had to punch out on that hole. So he was in the woods, punched out in 2. That's, Tenby and I have talked about this before. How often do you see a guy hit it so far right, it's going to probably be on the other side of planet Earth, but it hits a grandstand or a patron and bounces back into play, and that's what he got there. He got a great break. But
no, we don't get those breaks. No, they just keep going to the other fairway. Going.
But Victor Hovland was really good yesterday. He was really, really good. He made a birdie on 17, I think it was. He hit a
really long putt at one point.
The par 3 17th, I think he made birdie to take a 1-shot lead, and he closed it out with bogey because. See, and then you saw Thomas. He's his own worst enemy. He hooks a shot left, and he was in a terrible lie. He had no shot. Mm-hmm. And he tried to muscle a wedge or something up to the green. It ended up in the bunker. Got it out of the bunker, missed the putt, and that was it. Hovland had a 2-shot. Then, because Hovland hit his tee shot way right.
Yep.
But I think it hit patrons. And it landed in a really nice spot. He kind of laid it up. I really don't think he was going for the green.
Rocky.
They were talking about it was kind of a poor shot. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought he was just that green is so well protected. Mm-hmm. And with that pin placement on the front left and that bunker there, that's why Thomas, he needed about another half a foot or a foot on his bunker shot. It would have been brilliant, but it got caught up in the rough. So I just don't think Hovland, knowing he just needed a bogey, I don't think he wanted anything to do with that bunker, just in case. If you go for the green, or especially if you go for the pin, and you end up in the bunker, you might get a bad lie, you might get a plug lie, and the next thing you know, you're making a worse score than you need to at that point. So good for Victor. Yeah, he's 7th win on tour now, I believe. And I liked when did you see the little soundbite when they crossed paths going in and out of the scoring building?
No.
Where Thomas congratulated him and said, "See you at Augusta." Just think about how many people get to say that. There's only like 90 people playing at Augusta this year. So there's only 90 people that can go, "See ya at Augusta." And you and I ain't two of those guys.
No.
But how much fun is that? That's coming up here first weekend in April, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually, 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Okay, let's do this. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We got plenty to get to. Controversial Vikings news and more here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
Contest page to see how you could enter to win a pair of tickets to see early 2000s icons Simple Plan.
Simple Plan
when they take over the Armory August 19th. Don't miss out on your chance to see hits like I'm Just a Kid, Perfect, and Welcome to My Life. Enter now, KFAN.com, keyword contest.
That sounds like a heck of a concert. I might want to show up with some friends.
Indeed, it does sound like a heck of a concert. I don't have any friends that would to go to the concert with, but that's okay too. I'm going to do a Gone But Not Forgotten, and no, it's not Big George Foreman. We're still going to do that yet today. I've been making an emergency call to, I already talked to, didn't talk. We text and talk more than most people know. The former International Boxing Federation super middleweight champion of the world, Caleb Truax, said he'd be delighted and excited to come on the air and talk about the life and times of former heavyweight, 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman. Down goes Frazier. We're going to do that in a little bit, but there was another obit that I saw. I'd never heard of this person, had not heard of his band. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is, well, 2 things. If you make the New York Times as not just an obit on the back, but you're a story, then you were somebody, right? I mean, you're somebody. If you in any newspaper, it doesn't have to just be the New York Times. It could be the USA Today. It could be the Daily Planet or the Daily Bugle. When you get a story about your death, then you know you were somebody. And this one, have you ever heard of a punk rock band called The Damned? You don't seem like a punk rock guy to me, but you might be. I don't know why I would even say that. It might be your favorite genre of music.
Yeah, you don't know. I've never heard of The Damned. But it sounds like a good name for a band.
Are you a punk rock aficionado by name?
I can get down with some punk rock.
Can you name one band
that I would consider punk? Well, I mean, the band I'm listening to right now is called A Day to Remember.
Are they punk rock?
They can be.
Do they bang their head against the wall during concerts?
Maybe not against the wall.
Do they have safety pins through their noses? Because if they don't, I don't think they're punk rock.
Okay, well, then maybe not.
That's just me. Brian James, pioneer of punk rock, is dead at 70. A sub-headline in the New York Times says, as the guitarist and main songwriter for The Damned, he helped spark an explosion on the British music scene back in the 1970s. Story is wrote by Alex Williams. And it says, Brian James, who helped spark the punk rock revolution in Britain in the 1970s as the lead guitarist and chief songwriter of the British band The Damned, bringing a rare degree of musicality to a genre known for its chainsaw attack. He died March 6th, and he was 70, but it was just announced. He died, 2-3 weeks ago, but it didn't come out on his Facebook page. And it does not cite a cause or say where he died. The Damned never took British society or the rock world at large like the Sex Pistols, who sneered at the Queen. The Sex Pistols, you've heard of that band before, right? Punk rock band?
I have.
Who sneered at the Queen, hurled obscenities on television, talk shows, and had pundits mulling the collapse of Western values. Nor did they play the part of political revolutionaries like The Clash, or billed as the only band that matters. Nevertheless, the Damned made history. They were the first British punk band to release a single, New Rose, written by Mr. James. First to release an album, Damned, in the first to tour the United States. But here's why I bring it up. This is what I find interesting. This is why you know they are a punk rock band. Mr. James formed the Damned in London in 1976 with Dave Vanian, a former gravedigger. From gravedigger to punk rock singer. He was lead vocalist guy. He went from digging graves to playing at raves.
That's punk.
Captain Sensible played bass. Captain Sensible was his name. Okay? And my favorite, on drums, his name was Rat Scabies. Rat Scabies. Now, I always thought being known as meat sauce was, it pays the bills, right? It's a living.
Okay.
It's okay. You are, it's the 2020s. You got to be whatever you got to be to survive, right? Meat sauce, or sauce for short. But I think I'd rather be known as Sauce than Rat Scabies. But Rat Scabies has got a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Do you think that's his given name, his birth name? Do you think
I hope not.
His mom and dad's last name was Scabies, and they said, let's call him Rat Scabies?
We got to narrow down where the scabies came from. I hope not.
Rat Scabies is his name. And, hell, I like it. The stranger, the better, right? So that's, but, apparently Brian James, who died at age 70 on March 6th, was just announced on his Facebook page. He didn't have a name like that. That's what else is odd to me. You have Brian James, Dave Vanian, and then Captain Sensible. You kind of go, oh, it's kind of wacky and kind of funny. It's kind of cute. Captain Sensible. And then you go from there, you go to Rat Scabies. It's like, to me, it's a strange concoction of names that are all put together. And I'm not aware if Dave Vanian, Captain Sensible, or Rat Scabies are still alive and well. Still alive and well. Every now and then, I know it's kind of hard to tell, but it's still alive and well. But there you go. I do want to do an ode to as Barrow calls it, an ode to a dead guy. I call it Gone But Not Forgotten. We'll do that next. Common Man Program on the Fan.
Get ready for a night of nonstop laughter. Tom Segura's Come Together Tour is taking over XL Energy Center April 18th. Tickets are flying off the shelves. Don't miss out. Grab yours now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
That sounds like a heck of a concert. I might want to show up with some friends.
Couple 13-14 pass here on the Common Man Program. I'm Common. He's Brett Blakemore. So the wonderful world of Wikipedia, I found out about Rat Scabies. That is not his real name.
No.
I was confused. I thought maybe it was. He's known as his birth name, Christopher John Miller. Chris Miller. Wasn't Chris Miller also a quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons at one time? I think there was an NFL quarterback named Chris Miller, I believe.
It's probably true.
This isn't the same guy. He's still alive. He was born July 30th, 1955. So he's 69, 70 years old. Known by his stage name, Rat Scabies, best known as the drummer for the English punk rock band Damned.
You know, you could add him to your bit. You're a cross between Phyllis Diller and what's his name?
Christopher
Miller?
John Miller. Yeah. Well, it might be Millar because it's Millar.
Well.
It says he was born in Kingston upon Thames, Surrey. He played drums with Tor in London SS before founding the Damned with Brian James, Dave Vanian, and Captain Sensible in 1976. Here's my favorite part of this. He's got a very short Wikipedia page. There's not much here. It says in his audition for London SS, he obtained the nickname Rat Scabies after he was suffering from scabies when a rat ran across the basement floor. He was in a bad way. Then he's got scabies and he's got rats in the basement of his house. It's just not a good thing for rat scabies at the time. And so he put two and two together. Hey, I got scabies and I just saw, it was like divine intervention, right? It was just like, poof, look what we got going here. We're going to be rat scabies and the rest is history. And then I've heard scabies before, but I really didn't know what scabies are. Did you know before I weighed into it, before I looked? It says scabies is a contagious skin infection caused by the microscopic mite Sarcoptes scabii.
Ugh.
No! These mites burrow into the skin and lay eggs, leading to intense itching and a characteristic rash, and sometimes crusting. No! I thought I had dandruff. I've got scabies. Intense itching, especially at night.
That's horrifying.
Red raised bumps or what is a vesicle? That may,
I want to know.
That may form burrows, thin winding lines on your skin. So they're just burrowing around, searching for whatever, a mate, food, rats, who knows what they're looking for. Crusting or scaling in severe cases. Areas commonly affected include the wrists, between the fingers and toes, armpits, groin and genitals. Oh, man. No! I got a bad case of the scabies in my genitals. That just doesn't sound fun. And I don't think elevating your scrotum with a pair of athletic socks is going to help that. I don't think. Might make it worse, for crying out loud, because then you might get, especially if those socks hadn't been washed in a while, then you got athlete's foot going on, along with scabies and an elevated scrotum. You got all three going together. It's just not it's nothing I'd like to go through at all. And I'm assuming the scabies have babies eventually, too, and then you really get infected. No! Scabies babies. Spread through direct skin-to-skin contact with an infected person or by sharing contaminated items like bedding, clothing, towels, or athletic socks. A doctor can diagnose scabies based on a physical exam and a history of symptoms. Treatment typically involves a topical cream or lotion containing permethrin, which kills the mites and their eggs. Do you know there's an egg shortage? Eggs are right now off the charts in price-wise. Apparently we're going to import, as Carl Sagan would say, billions and billions of eggs from Turkey and from, I think, South Korea. Did you see that story?
No.
Do you know why there's an egg shortage? Do you know why?
That's above my pay grade.
It's avian flu. So they've had to kill millions, hundreds of millions of, especially egg-laying hens are the ones that are getting hit most by the avian flu. So that's why eggs, they cost a lot of money. Permethrin kills the mites in their eggs. All household members and close contacts of the infected person should also be treated to prevent reinfestation. I think I'd rather have gangrene. I would rather have scabies. Scabies just doesn't sound... How do you break that to a person, too? calling in sick. What's wrong? I got scabies.
Yeah, that's...
Avoid close contact with people who have scabies. Wash bedding, clothing, and towels in hot water. Vacuum and clean surfaces regularly. Speaking of vacuuming, did you know that meat sauce recently threw out his vacuum cleaner?
No, why?
Because he said all it does is sit around the house and collect dust. I've scratched that from Flop, Sweat, and Tears because that didn't go over. I got I on that one I would get. They love the brain-eating amoeba one.
That's a good one.
That is a good one, isn't it? Use insect repellent on exposed skin when in areas where scabies is common. So, hose down with off. Have a can of off with you, and you can off the scabies.
And this thing that you're describing, this poor sap in London.
Yes,
that's what he's named.
Scabies rat.
Yeah.
No, rat scabies.
Rat scabies.
But you know what? Like I said to you, it's a living. It pays the bills.
Yeah.
That's like, meat sauce or Mike Morris gave meat sauce the name meat sauce, and he kept it. He also called Corey Cove Sludge, and Cove said, I don't want to be known as Sludge anymore, so nobody calls him Sludge anymore. If I was meat sauce, I would have taken Sludge. I would have said, can I have that name then? Because what would you rather be, sauce or Sludge? I kind of like Sludge.
You do?
If I wasn't the common man, I would either be Sludge or Rat Scabies. I'd be one or the other. Isn't Sludge kind of a good nickname?
I think I'd go with sauce over that. But yeah, I mean, Sludge. Yeah.
How about meat sauce?
Yeah, but sauce itself is kind of...
Yeah, I guess it's okay.
Well, he's done all right for himself.
Do you know... How old are you?
I'm 28.
Does that make you a millennial or tenillennial, or what are you? I mean, no, you're a human being, but I just mean...
Well, yeah. I'm either the youngest millennial or the oldest Gen Zer.
Okay.
Basically.
If I said to you, sauce me the ketchup, would you know what that means?
I would.
Yeah, you would know that?
Yeah.
Even though it's pretty self-explanatory when you say sauce me the ketchup, means pass. I did not know that until my kids taught me that. So sauce is named after toss me a...
Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of a hockey thing, too. Because that's...
Saucer pass?
Yeah, because it's a saucer pass. So it'll say sauce me the whatever. Short for that.
You learn something every day. Here's something else I learned, too.
Meat sludge.
Do you remember, because my guess is even when you're not producing the Common Man program, you podcast it and listen.
Of course.
To all 3 hours every day. You can't get enough of it, right? Do you remember when I had this crazy idea last year at this time when I said, you know what I think the Vikings ought to do? They ought to sign Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Aaron Jones, which they did. And then I had like Joe Mixon and another guy. I thought they should have 4 or 5. I was convinced to maybe make it just 4. I got a little crazy with the 5. And I said, then you would have really good running backs who would be fresher, right? And offering sort of like what Detroit does now, which is 2. They have Sonic and Knuckles. You have your fast guy and your power guy. You get a little bit, the Dolphins back in the 1970s, the last undefeated team in pro football. Way back in 1972, the Dolphins went, it must have been 17-0 because they won 14 regular season games and then 2 playoff games in the big game, and they won 17-0. And they had 3 backs. They had Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and Mercury Morris. And it worked really well. They didn't lose a game, so I guess the strategy was not that bad, right? And I got mocked and ridiculed. And one of the comebacks by... And Tenneby was really thought I was off my ride. He thought I was crazy before this, but he was really adamantly opposed to it, as were many other people. I got nominated for preposterous statement and how you've now proven that yes, you are a high school dropout. You're not very smart. And one of the Tenneby's had several reasons for not doing it. One of them was, you're never going to convince guys like Derrick Henry or Saquon Barkley or any running back to share time in the backfield. They're not going to want to carry the ball just 6, 8, 10 times a game. Why would they want to do that? These guys all have egos. They want to carry the ball 15, 18, 20, if it takes 25 times a game. And part of that reasoning is the more you run, the better your numbers are and the greater number of dollars you can make in your contract, which all makes sense, I guess. My comeback to that at the time was, but if you're able to explain it to the player and go, it's something new, and you're going to get way less wear and tear on your body, less chance for injury, and you're still going to get paid the same amount of money. We're going to give you your $8 or $10 million a year, but you're going to do about a quarter or a third of the work. Now, who wouldn't do that in this day and age? If I told you, Brett Blakemore, a.k.a. Rat Scabies, that you would work fewer hours here at the Fan. Like today, you were working at KTLK earlier, weren't you?
That's correct.
How many hours will you put in today?
So at the end of the day, I'll probably have 8 or 9.
So let's just say 9. If I said to you, you can work 3 hours, but I'll pay you for the same for 9, would you do it? Everybody would do it, including pro football players. I have proof. Did you see the little special? You know, they did a little feature piece on the Michigan State Spartans and Tom Izzo before the game started. And I'm paraphrasing, but if you saw it, they play like 10 guys. And he said, I had to sell it to all those guys. I had to tell them, are you willing to have less playing time for the good of the team? And everyone said, I like the idea. And guess what? They're in the Sweet 16. So I guess it's working. They're all playing. They're all sharing in the glory. They're all getting to play. And they're still getting their nil money or whatever it is that they're getting. And so that's proof positive it works. You can do that to people. You can change things. And the only reason I bring it up, because I wasn't going to bring up the running back thing again. I know people you're bringing that up again, are you? You know, you ever just going to drop it? It's a stupid idea. No one ever wants to hear about it again. And maybe you're right. But I wouldn't have brought it up again if I didn't see this piece on Tom Izzo in the Michigan State Spartans. And I just said, well, there you go. There is proof that you can convince me. Now you can say, well, college kids compared to pro athletes. Yeah, but it's the power of persuasion. If you word it right, you can convince anybody to do just about anything, right? You can convince somebody to take the name Rat Scabies. Hey, I got a great nickname for you. You're going to be Rat Scabies. Hey, you're going to be Meat Sauce. You're going to be Sludge. Only Corey Cove finally stood up and said, I won't be denigrated with the nickname Sludge anymore. I am Corey Cove, Maestro of the Mornings. Sauce just went ahead and kept me in Meat Sauce. And Rat Scabies he's Rat Scabies. And he's in London and he's doing well. And, you know, don't know if he has a real job anymore, if he's retired or whatever the case may be. But, yeah. And again, I got pushed back again. I don't understand what people think. It says, you're forgetting about their legacies and career numbers would drop. These guys are pro athletes who are workaholics and want to be in the Hall of Fame. That isn't happening if they're in a timeshare. If you say that to them that way, yeah, but when you tell them you're going to be part of something bigger, Hall of Fame? So you get a yellow jacket and you're in the Hall of Fame and you got a bust. Don't know till you try. Do you think the question's ever been asked of any of those guys? Do you think he wanted to be Rat Scabies? Do you think that if they would say, well, he doesn't want to be known as Rat Scabies, so we won't even bring up that name, that nickname? Well, he said, yeah, I'd like to be Rat Scabies. How do you know if you don't go to Saquon and go, you carry the ball 8 to 10, maybe 12 times a game? and you're going to get paid the same amount of money. You're going to be in the same backfield as Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, three of you guys mixing it up back there, pardon the pun. Got a really good offense and a good defense. We're going to win some titles, and you're going to make some really good money. And their legacy's already cemented, especially Henry's was already cemented. It's like, sure, sounds like a great idea, man. I've worked my entire life, if you want to call it work, to get to the point where I only have to work 3 hours a day. I don't need to go over the history again, do you, that I used to work 10, 12, 15 hours a day in radio, right here at the Fan.
Mm-hmm.
5 to 9 in the morning doing news and sports. Now, it's not backbreaking work. It's not like carrying the pigskin. It's not like carrying the rock. But I worked, and then I would leave, go hit a couple buckets of balls, come back, and I would work from 2 until 9. Sitting in that chair that you're in and staying in that chair. You think that ain't a long day? Split shift, 5 to 9, 2 to 9? Then I would get done at 9. I'd go directly home, and I got to be back at 5 a.m. the next day. So I went home. I had no life. You talk about life and work balance. I had no life other than work was my life. And it worked out for me sort of, kind of, a little bit. I think those guys would have done. All I know is it worked for Michigan State. I'm now, and I've never, I don't necessarily pull for teams except for Minnesota-based teams and the Kitties. Other than that, I don't really. I mean, I won't say that I don't watch a game and go, let's say it's Buffalo against Cincinnati, right? Depending upon where their seasons are at that point and such like that, I could find myself, I'll pick a team, I'll go, yeah, I kind of want the Bengals to win this one, Josh Allen and him. Now, and then, when Buffalo plays Kansas, anybody that's playing Kansas City, Kansas City's they've had the wine, the women, and the song. They've had their day in the sun, so I'm going to pull for another club for a while, right? It's not that hard to do. And so, yeah.
The other part of it, too, is that with especially this running back idea is you can sell to them, you're probably going to get paid a lot more in the long term because you're not going to get hurt.
Right. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
You play longer. Your career lasts longer.
Yeah.
This one says, sounds like you're a victim of capitalism. I guess I am to a certain extent. I think we all kind of are, aren't we? Working to pay the man, right? Remember the show Chico and the Man? Of course you know. Give me my lewds and my gun is what Freddie Prinze kept saying. And then they gave him his lewds and his gun, and then he killed himself. Why would you do that? If he's, give me my lewds and my gun, was apparently what he told his pals. And they said, okay, here's your lewds and your gun. And then he killed himself. That doesn't seem like a very good idea. It was a brilliantly funny comic. He was in a TV show called Chico and the Man. He was like 22 years old, and he had the whole world in front of him. You familiar with the story at all?
I'm not.
I didn't think you would be.
I'll say you're doing pretty well for yourself, though, for being a victim of capitalism.
Well, that's it.
All right.
I'm a victim of capitalism. And, but we all sort of kind of are, unless you want to join a commune or be a deadbeat or join the Flop, Sweat, and Tears tour and be guilty of grand theft and racketeering. You know what racketeering is? Organized crime. I wouldn't call ours organized. It's sort of disorganized crime or unorganized crime. So we're not very organized. Well, that's what it is, right? I guess we're all the victims of capitalism. This one says, I thought we were going to hear about George Foreman and not skin conditions. And I forgot we were going to do George Foreman, weren't we? And I had you. Here's here's what I could tell what happened. Let's just say I went the next hour without doing George Foreman. You'd be annoyed because I had you work. How much time did you have to put in for the George Foreman bit?
Hundreds. A couple minutes.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, found it. Put it in, maybe 5 minutes tops. But no, it took me forever to get it.
That's what you're supposed to say. See, it was a lot of work.
Exactly.
A lot of people thought it was a lot of work. George Foreman, former heavyweight champion of the world, 2 iterations in his career, right? He was let's do this. Is it okay if we break a tad bit early?
Yeah, sure.
Wait, hold on before we break, though.
Uh-oh.
No, it's just, this one says, Common's take on the NFL Hall of Fame is why he will never be in the paddock.
Now that's just
but I think that's working against me because I've said before that I think Hall of Fames are kind of overrated and they're just kind of silly anyways. Because everybody that's in there has already been idolized and pedestalized for their entire life, right? And then they have to give it that one more. So pretty soon there's going to be the Hall of Fame of Hall of Fames. In other words, sure, you're one of the, I don't know how many people are in the Football Hall of Fame. Several hundred, 500, 600.
Sure.
Let's just say, just for argument's sake, it's 600 people. It might be less, might be more. Then they're going to say, no, then we're even have a Hall of Fame that's big. The Hall of Fame of the Hall of Fame. The 10 best players to ever be in the Hall of Fame. And then instead of a gold jacket, they'll give them like a lavender jacket or a maroon jacket or something like that.
And funny enough, Mark Rosen is actually getting inducted into that.
Yeah,
too.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, we're happy for him.
That's the whole thing. It's like, so I probably won't get into the paddock, and that's okay with me. So anyway, what is neither here nor there. Let's talk about Big George Foreman on the other side of the break. Dead at the age of 76. Not the one time, but the two-time former heavyweight champion of the world. Really interesting story. Brett put some work together for us. We have some sound bites actually from 3 of Big George's biggest moments of his career. 2 that he would be very delighted with. The other not so much. We'll do that next. Common Man Program here on the Fan.